Have you ever looked at your amigurumi and thought that there might be something more than just yarn and stuffing? Like it has a story to tell, or a dream to chase, or a song to sing.
Today we're going to cover Jim Henson's style 5 crochet design elements that will help you breathe life into your amigurumi projects.
Jim Henson? You mean like Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy?
Yeah, you know, Jim Henson was part of my whole generation. He was a master puppeteer and he created those well-known Muppets and Sesame Street characters like Big Bird and Bert and Ernie and the well-loved Elmo, Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy. There's so many. Cookie Monster and that crazy drummer Animal is like one of my favorites. How did he do it?
The 5 elements that we have decided are the most important in breathing life into your amigurumi, we're going to share with you right now. And we have a whole table full of plushies we've made to display what we're talking about.
Right. And there are more than 5. There's actually a lot more than 5, but these are design elements that you should consider before you start crocheting. And the first one is color work.
There's so many yarns out in the world and they come in so many colors, and it's so fun to bring life to your creation by making it have fun colors.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, actually. I love selecting the yarns.
I do too. This is something I just finished this morning. I'm calling it my cotton candy cow, but I think
that's a great name.
She could have a couple other names too, I think. But I had a lot of fun mixing variegated yarn with a sparkle yarn, and then
were those Bernay blanket yarns?
Yeah, they were both Bernay blanket yarns, and then I used Premier basic chenille for her hands and feet and muzzle, and then I
see even the end of her tail.
Yep, her end of her tail too.
Cute.
And I used a different sparkle Bernat blanket for her horn also.
Okay, yeah.
So she's got some fun features there.
Yeah, I love that. We'll give you a little close up. And I just think the detail work on her is really, really nice. And can you talk about the eyes quick? Because we're not going to talk about the facial features too much in this video, because that could be a whole video on
absolutely.
itself. But tell our audience how you created these eyes.
These are embroidered, and I started with the black, and then I added a couple, like 2 things of white to the side, and then I went back in and added a little eyelash or eyebrow line. Okay,
so when you were making this cutie pie, what kind of yarns did you use for the eyes?
I used Premier Parfait Chunky, actually.
Okay, Parfait Chunky yarn.
Yep.
Okay, which is also, again, another yarn completely different than the rest of this body.
Yep.
Another yarn that I want to talk about, combination of color work, is this little hippopotamus. And this is another Knotted Lovey out of the Knotted Lovey book, just like that cow.
Mama Made Minis.
Yep, Mama Made Minis. And I used 3 different kinds of yarns for this particular hippopotamus. I had a variegated blanket yarn, Bernat blanket. Then I used a solid, because I prefer to have my faces have more solid features to it. So I used this whole top so I could get a good pop on the eyes. And then I used the variegated way through the whole rest of the body. But then I have a Parfait Chunky on the toenails, the fingernails, and I thought that little detailing was super cute.
It is really
cute.
And
then the arms and the tail go back to just the plain. So the plain yarn is kind of carried throughout. And I did change up the yarns that I used also for the eyes. I used a blanket yarn for the black, but I used a Parfait Chunky for the white. And it wasn't a white, it was like an off-white.
Okay.
And you know, a hippopotamus is called a cow, a female hippo, and her babies are calves, just like a cow. So I just really loved how this eye got built up. It kind of reminds me of a cow's eye.
Yeah.
I really love that.
It's really sweet.
Okay, so color work is very fun you know, that's a really creative process. Another view of color work is this little lamb, because he's got kind of like the Suffolk lamb.
Yeah.
Where he's got his appendages are all a darker color, and in his body is the lighter wool.
Yep.
And that's really fun. You can get kind of more creative with this little guy too. All different kinds of sheep out there.
Yep.
With colorways, like Jacob sheep are spotted and tuna sheep are orangey or brownish.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Only limited by your yarn.
Right. Okay. Number 2 is shaping. I think one of the things I love about the Mama Made Minis book is that they offer so many different shapings for the heads. And you know, when you think of amigurumi, most people think of creating round balls, right? Because that's where you kind of start, is learning how to increase and then decrease, and you have a round ball. But it's really nice when you can create more shaping on your face, and it's really easy to see what an item is. So we have this little cow again, and the shaping on this face is very different than the shaping, let's say, on this frog. This frog's face is totally different.
Toad.
Yep.
Totally.
This is the Tessa toad, and I always call it a frog because I made it in this green and not a browner, and I just keep thinking
I always call her a frog too.
I think of this one as a frog. So this is my frog, but this is Tessa toad. Another face shape that is different. This hippo again. And I think also to point out that you created the head on this one with a much, much smaller hook.
Yeah, I used a 6.5 millimeter hook.
And I didn't decrease the size of hook on the head of my hippo. I left the head at the same 8 millimeter hook that I crocheted the rest of the body. And I really like that the head turned out big.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Like that.
It's very hippo-y.
Yes. You can see they kind of are similar in the snout, where they have the little bobble stitches for the nose, but the hippo's snout is much bigger and rounder, and then the crochet hook size makes a big difference. And another one that's similar in its own ways, this dragon, right?
Yep.
They're very
it's a little
similar.
different. From like the side view, you can tell it's a little bit different.
And then let's look at this sheep again.
The lamb has a very rounded snout, like it gently flares out, whereas the cow has the snout, the muzzle.
Right. So for shaping, you can create your shaping with your stitches, which that's one aspect of shaping. Another aspect of shaping is using your stuffing. And
then threading through it.
Right.
In the Raven and Jade patterns, this is the River Bunny.
Yep.
She has you kind of pull your
eye sockets.
Yeah, the eye sockets together basically to create shaping. So you make it more like a cone, and then you're adding your shaping after the fact.
Right.
It's harder to see with this one, but...
And then the other part that's different between both of these, because this is the River Bunny, the big one.
Yep.
This is the little bitty mini.
Yep.
The bitty bunny. And this one, the whole body is stuffed. So it has this really cute big belly. I just think that that's super adorable that you have this big, big belly. And then in this one, the body is not stuffed at all. So, and then when I made this one, the arms and the legs really aren't stuffed either, but I had leftover yarns that I stuck in there just to give it a little bit of more firmness. Yep. But otherwise, these don't look anything alike. You really change the shaping by putting your stuffing in the body of this one. And in this one also, I don't think it has as much shaping on the face. Did you try to pull that in?
I did.
Yeah. I think you could go even a lot more.
Definitely.
Because it just kind of still looks rounded. But, you know, who's going to know? Who's going to know?
Character.
Exactly. So, and then there's one other part of shaping, and that is whether your item has multiple pieces of sewing together versus one piece. So here we have shaping in many different ways, like we have these fun little loops and these little crocheted chains, but it's a one piece and bobble stitch, but it's a one piece deal, right? So this shaping and detail work is totally different than this little bunny that has 2 legs, and then you crochet the body, but you have to crochet arms on, you crochet your head on, you crochet on your ears. So, and then there's a lot of detail work in even making
it fun and dress up
accessories. Right. So whether your item has multiple pieces makes a big difference in the shaping of your item.
Definitely.
Okay. So, you know, if you've watched our channel at all, you know we love the easy peasy, one and done type of product. And if you're crocheting for markets or you need a very quick birthday gift, these little one-piece wonders are fantastic. Whereas when you're making a Mama's Made Mini, you're going to spend several hours on one of these.
This morning alone, I spent an hour just making arms and tails and sewing it all together.
Right. I always think that this is going to go so much faster because it does build up quite fast, but then doing all the detail work and then sewing on eyes, and you know, if you're using safety eyes, it really cuts down on the amount of time too, but all that extra detail work does take time. Okay.
It's worth it.
Yeah. So number 3 is my favorite idea. And this is absolutely Jim Henson, and it's asymmetrical features. Because I didn't realize when we started crocheting these amigurumis that we were striving for perfection. We were trying to get every appendage on just
perfectly
right, every ear sewn on just right, the heads put on exactly the right way. And the thing that makes a lot of Jim Henson's puppets, he intentionally created asymmetrical features because that was part of their personality. And I'm like, phew, okay, the pressure is off.
When the experts say it's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
That's right. I mean, I can't really see the asymmetrical features, but I'm sure that they're there because that's one of the things that he's known for. So let's talk about our asymmetrical amigurumi that it's hard to admit are like flaws that we initially thought, but these actually bring the character to life.
Yeah. So this is my son's Lovey. He is our curious dragon because his head got crocheted on slightly lopsided.
But I just think it's adorable.
He is so cute. I absolutely love this quirky dragon now that it's done.
Yeah.
I was kind of like embarrassed by it at first, but now it's my favorite thing. I just love it, and I would intentionally do it like this over.
I would intentionally do it too because I think it's just adorable having that extra ear sticking up this way. So this little guy is the curious dragon, and it's a whole nother video we're going to create on creating backstories to help bring your amigurumi to life, because that is a whole nother topic and there's great tips for that. But we have another quirky.
This is also mine. I'm really
dinosaur.
good at making quirky animals. So
you're just the most creative.
you might not notice it at first, but this guy's arm is up here near his neck, and this guy's arm is down here closer to his body.
And tell me, how did that happen?
Absolutely accident.
Okay.
I think it was the fact that it was difficult to get my needle up so close to this one's head. And
were you using a metal needle?
Probably. I don't remember exactly. But I put it on and I was like, well, that was wrong. And this yarn falls apart so easily that I could not take it off and try again.
Right. That's a one and done kind of yarn.
Yep.
Which yarn did you use?
This is Michael's Loops and Threads Sweet Snuggles Light.
Yeah. So we also did a whole nother video on yarns for beginners, and that's one of the yarns we advise absolute beginners not to start with because it's so fragile.
Yeah.
And it can be like, we've been crocheting for years and I'm like, OMG.
The yarn is finicky. Proceed with caution.
Right. And once you get good at handling these plush yarns, then you kind of know the tricks to working with it. Tip number 4 are textured yarns and yarn combining. And our little flocker, where did he go? He's buried under here. He's still one of my all-time favorites. I want to make more things with eyelash yarn. I just think that it is so fun. Let's take him right up there. It's so fun to have all those little eyelashes sticking out. And this is a great example of how to use up yarns in your stash. Just because you're making a plushie amigurumi doesn't mean you have to use a plush yarn. You can use some other chunky yarn, which is what this one was made with.
Yeah, this was literally just a stash buster.
Right.
Just random things I pulled out and it's like, well, we're going to make a flocker out of this and see how it turns out.
Right. And you could use something like this on the wing of your dragon.
Yeah.
You could use something like that on...
You could make it with the clothes on the accessories in your...
Right, a fancy shawl.
Yep.
Or even on a mane.
Yep, unicorn mane.
Unicorn mane. It'd be really fancy.
Very.
You probably would want your mane to just be a single color since it's going to be so fancy.
Exactly.
And then yarn combining... You know, we've shown you already and talked about how we combined Premier Parfait Chunky with Bernat Blanket yarn, and then you had Premier Basics chenille yarn with the blanket yarn.
And this one was chenille Sweet Snuggles with Premier Parfait Chunky also.
Yep. And this dragon, you can tell his spikes are more matted. This is the Premier Basic chenille, but his body was a blanket yarn from Bernat Blanket Yarn. And we've talked about the dragon. Did you use the same yarn?
Yeah, it's the same yarn. Yep.
Yeah, but I love his color combination. All right. And then using unique stitches. So I have yet to actually make this lamb. And I want to make it because I love the bobble stitch on this particular lovey. And I would love to make bobbles on more of some of the plushie bodies. Like, I know you're working on the Yeti right now, right?
Yep.
I think the Yeti could be really cool with some bobble stripes going across his body.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I think this lamb would look really cute too with a few extra bobbles stitches. So that is one, but I've also seen with this flocker these loops.
Yeah, I've never made loops like the flocker before.
Right. Now I'm seeing loops like this coming up on cows.
Yeah.
For hair, like the little
you pull the
Highland cow.
loop and then twirl it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Or just a plain loop like this for hair.
Right. The twirling it, I haven't done that one yet. I'm really dying to do that.
Too.
Because I think that will add it's like fringe.
Right.
Right? So I think that would add really cool bangs to something.
Yeah, I would love to add that to a unicorn mane also.
Uh-huh. And you know what? I was thinking about that unicorn mane was adding stitches like the mermaid hair with the curly cues.
yeah. In the actual Mama Made mini book, that's how they make the hair.
Okay.
I still make it this way, which is their
alternate.
Yep, the solo pattern that you can buy from their website.
Okay. Unique stitches, asymmetrical features, which are actually happy little accidents in our crocheting, but becoming more intentional now. It's really fun to talk about breathing life into these amigurumi and just the fact that none of them looks the same. And in our next video, we're going to talk about creating backstories to these animals, because I think that is another key to breathing life into our animals. If you want to learn more about everything plushie amigurumi, subscribe to the channel and check out our video right here where we talk about combining yarns
Bob Ross style.